it's the next level.
Hey, my name is Ross Marquand, and I play Red Skull. You are listening to Panels to Pixels podcast. Check it out.
What's Sporty Spice up to? Who? Sporty fucking Spice. What's she up to?
I don't know.
Exactly. How about Posh? You know what she's doing?
I don't understand.
Making clothes for anorexics, all right? Not exactly a growth market. And Baby, you know what she's doing? Fuck all. Not even page 6 of the Daily Mail. And Scary Spice, up to her eyeballs in lawsuits and sex tapes. Ginger, on the other hand, has released 3 albums: Passion, Schizophonic, and Scream If You Want to Go Faster. They'll all make your ears bleed. You see, when they're apart, they're absolute fucking rubbish. But you put them together, they're the goddamn fucking Spice Girls.
How do you know so much about the Spice Girls?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And today we'll be discussing Season 1 of Amazon's The Boys. We will discuss all 8 episodes of the first season, which will be very long. It might be a little bit long, might be not, who knows. But, so spoiler warning for now, but you'll hear a lot of things that have come out in the episode. So if you haven't watched the show, go watch it. It's been out, man.
Yeah, it's been out for a while. And I know when TV Podcast Industries, when they did their coverage of it, I submitted them some feedback. So I watched it a while ago, and like we were talking earlier, Mark and I have watched most of it over this last week. So I think we're ready to have a pretty good discussion about all 8 of these episodes. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely. So do you want to start us off with our first takes?
Sure. I just really enjoyed seeing Colby Minifie in this. She was in Jessica Jones, and she was the Ginny from Fear the Walking Dead, the last couple episodes of the last season of Fear the Walking Dead. I love all the soundtrack stuff, the different music, and even the little snippets of music was really cool. Like in the last episode, or episode 7 or 8, there you heard the very opening strains of Billy Joel's one of Billy Joel's song, and it's escaping me now which song. It's the that's terrible that I can't remember the name of the song, but the Uptown
Girl.
What is it? No, not Uptown Girl. That's the line from the song is, "You went uptown riding your limousine when your Fine Park Avenue closed." That's that song. And then the title is totally escaping me. That's horrible. I love the song. I could probably.
We all love the songs, and we all know them. We just don't know the names.
Yeah. I also, this was Elizabeth Shue was in this.
Yeah.
Eric Kripke was the creator of this, or is a producer of this. He adapted it for television. He is a big producer on Supernatural, which is one of my favorite shows ever. So it was great to see Eric Kripke's name on all these episodes. He directed a few of the episodes as well. So yeah, it's one of those one of those 8-hour, just 8 episodes. It was crazy when we were looking at this, and I said 8 episodes. That's all it was, because it felt longer. Because these episodes, I think I like the way Amazon does these shows, because I don't think there was any of the episodes that was less than 50 minutes, and most of them were like 55, 56 minutes. The last one was over an hour. So it was a really, really good show just to watch.
Oh, definitely. And with that, I'll have to add with my own, where, you've already brought it up, the cameos and the characters that a lot of large actors play in it. Obviously, Elizabeth Shue. I loved seeing Carl Urban, who I'm a fan of. He who was Judge Dredd. We already talked about him.
Right.
Simon Pegg coming back, but with an American accent, playing Huey's dad. And he does a
Big Shot. That's the name of the song.
You're a big shot. All right, awesome.
Billy Joel, Big Shot. That was the name. Sorry, I hated to interrupt you, but I was like, I'm running over the lyrics in my mind going, it's the one, the chorus is, "You had to be a big shot, didn't you?
Yep.
You had to open up your mouth." That's the song. But those, all the last episode used was just the very first opening moments of it. So
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And and I have to agree with
Sorry.
you. And that's my no. But that adds to what my last point was, which was the soundtrack. The soundtrack actually adds to it. And we also got within the show, and we'll talk about it later too. We got the Spice Girls.
yeah, that was,
Come on,
I
man.
love-
We got
that's
the
that's
Spice
actually in my
Girls.
notes. It's in my notes where he brings up he brings up that the Spice Girls group.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really good with the visual of the show. So, pretty much to give you an idea or a synopsis of what's going on, this was inspired by the comic book series itself that was called The Boys. I honestly never heard of, but was intrigued by it because when I saw it on Amazon and I started researching it, it was a comic book full of, superheroes with a lot of adult content in it. It was more of a twisted version, in my opinion, as I look at it overall, as the Justice League that was created by a company called Vought. Similar to the character in the Mystery Men, would be Homelander, which is branded as the leader of the group. But the branding goes on more and more as corporate advertising and merchandising more than saving people itself within this whole look of these people. And it's kind of twisted and corrupted. The heroes are created by this company and are marketed as such. But the heroes themselves are mostly corrupt themselves due to the high, of being a super and don't control or show any humility or humanity in what they're doing. They kind of let their ego take over at certain points, or they have their own certain self issues. And we see that through this where nothing's even perfect within a super, even though it's marketed as they're the greatest people known to the world.
Yeah.
So that was what I got out of it. But I do you agree or no?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a twisted version of the comics of what we normally see from like the Avengers and what we've seen from the Marvel Cinematic Universe over the last few years. Even DC, really, it's even darker than what DC has, and it's got that very dark humor in it. And the nice thing about this show, though, I think that was really cool to me anyway, was that the main characters, the protagonists, so to speak, I guess, are regular humans. It's not like the superheroes are not the
main focus.
Yeah, they're the antagonists kind of this. But we do see, like, and we'll get into it when we get down to episode 7, but when Billy encounters Mesmer in the bathroom, and we see his reaction, and so we see that these guys are not, they're not nice guys. They're not. I mean, Huey murders a guy in the second or third episode.
Oh yeah.
He murders one of the heroes. We see them doing things that are definitely not good things. So it's kind of cool to have this show that kind of addresses that side of it, the kind of the jerkish side of the superheroes, and even that our protagonists, our good guys, so to speak, are the same way. I mean, they're dickish in their own way.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, Billy Butcher is just a jerk.
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. He's like pushing to get his own way and what he believes in, and regardless of who's there.
Yeah, and he blatantly lies to people about things and withholds the truth.
Yeah, he's just determined.
So yeah, he wants to get at these soups, and he hates soups so much. And I think it's going to be interesting when we get to when season 2 comes out, to see how this changes, or if it changes his character at all, because we know that his whole vendetta, the whole 8 years that he's been doing this up to this point, have been because he's trying to get revenge for his wife.
Oh yeah.
So it really is, and you get a sense of his justification for everything he's doing, and that all falls apart by the end of the first season. So now where's he going? And we'll get to that when we get to episode 8.
Yeah. So what we're going to do ladies and gentlemen, for who are listening. We're basically going to break it down episode per episode based upon what we liked and our favorite moments within per episode within the whole season. So this might be long, it might be short, who knows? It depends on how our conversation goes. So bear with us.
Why don't we just kind of go back and forth on, I've got a few points, you've got a few points for each episode. We can kind of just go back and forth.
Yeah, that'll work.
I absolutely loved, for me, episode 1, I absolutely loved that first meeting that we have between Huey and Annie when he meets her there on the park bench, and he doesn't know who she is and she doesn't know who he is, and it's completely just this totally innocent kind of encounter where they don't even exchange numbers. I don't even remember if they told each other their names or not. They just, he sees her crying, he's sitting on the park bench, she sits down on the park bench, she's crying, he says, you know, how are you doing or whatever, and she's like, oh, my job, blah blah blah, because it's right after her encounter with the Deep, and after his whole thing of walking, you know, of getting of shaking. Was that when he went into the building to shake A-Train's hand and met the bug, or was that later?
I think that was around.
Maybe that
time.
was late. Anyway, that meeting, that first time of them meeting,
Or it was after the meeting with the lawyer.
You're right. Yeah, it's anyway. It's just that initial meeting between them where he doesn't know she's a super.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what's happened to him. It's just two people, and I think they did exchange names because later they know each other's names. So that's really my first point of the episode, is that I really liked that.
Did you have anything else or no?
Just, I mean, I can just go through everything for episode 1. And
Yeah, do it. Go ahead, because I'll agree with you.
That way. Yeah, just the creepiness of the Deep. I already kind of mentioned that a little bit. And then at the end, that fight between Billy Butcher and Translucent is really, really cool, because like when Translucent hits him, and so he's bleeding and he spits blood on him so that he can see where he's at, and so we get to see this kind of this figure we just see a little bit of the blood, and it's just enough that Billy's able to punch him and grab him, and just that whole thing of Translucent walking in. The other thing, and it's not in my notes, but it's just the ludicrousness of Translucent, that he has to be naked. And it's one of those things that, you know, they never really address it with, like in the Fantastic Four, the Invisible Girl,
or the Invisible Man himself.
Or Invisible Man. These other shows where their clothes disappear with them when they disappear, and every once in a while there'll be a movie or a TV show. Like I think there was a Supernatural episode where a kid wished for the ability to be invisible, but he had to be naked. The Hollow Man, the Kevin Bacon Invisible Man thing was the same way. He had to be naked. It's really cool to see that kind of just openly addressed here, of where they're, every time they talk about it, they're just like, and what was it later? One of the later episodes, Billy Butcher's going, well, he could be over there in the corner just tossing off and we wouldn't even know. You know, is just really, so that kind of introduces us to the type of humor we're going to get.
It's very dark and very serious, and if you can't watch it with a grain of salt, I don't suggest you watch it. A lot of people don't like that kind of humor, and I understand that. But, you know, I'm kind of like strange and odd, and I like kind of that stuff because it's kind of humanizing of these particular characters, which I like. Because it puts you in that position. What do you think you would do? I'm not saying you as this particular character, but in a sense of you looking at it and being like, okay, this is a person that was granted these gifts, and, you know, ego comes aside, this feeling of empowerment. They could do whatever they want, and then, you know, abuse it in certain circumstances or be manipulated in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
With that, I have to agree with you. The Deep in Starlight, yeah, what the Deep does in the briefing room, apparently tamer than what happened within the comic. Apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Apparently
in the comic there was an initiation with Starlight. I think it's her because I never really read the comic. It's only from what I was told. But apparently the other male members of the Seven took turns violating her in a sexual way. I just loved how they played off the creepiest of all scenes as a setup of who the Deep is within the show and what we eventually see of him later in the season based upon that. Because he gets punished in a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's far better than what they did in the comic. Because honestly, that from what it was described to me was very, very gruesome. And it's not something I wouldn't want to see on TV or a movie for a woman. But, in this case, it was done in a more...
I mean, it's still horrible.
It's still horrible, but...
not to the level of...
extremes.
Of what you're talking about.
Yeah. So to me, that was a little bit more acceptable than what was read in the comic. It makes me think, should I even really read this comic?
Yeah, it might be rough, I'm thinking. So
yeah, and I have a few others, so bear with me. The wacky bar with the soups. You saw that scene. To me, that we see the lewd things they do when Butcher, who is Carl Urban, brings Huey, Jack Quaid, and if you guys don't know this and you haven't watched the show, Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's son plays Huey. And he can see what the supers are really like and what A-Train thinks of the situation that was set up in the very beginning of the episode when A-Train plowed through Huey's girlfriend at the time, and Huey was left with her hands and blood splattering on him. So it was Wade Butcher was trying to coerce Huey into his group to take down the supers.
Yeah, and we actually learn more about that scene later on in episode 5 when Butcher shows Huey the video that was taken of that night, and then Huey then describes the video to Ezekiel when he's planning to blackmail him, and you find out there was a whole lot went on that we didn't see on camera.
Exactly. So on episode 2, do you have anything or
just a few things? I loved the line when A-Train goes into the hospital room for the cancer kid, and the kid's like, "Well, no, my wish was to see to see." I get that now, to see translucent, and A-Train's like, "Well, no, I'm here. Don't you like A-Train?" And he just completely blows it in front of this kid, and you hear Stillwell and the others going, "A-Train should be scripted. He needs to have a script whenever he goes out there." And I love the character of Frenchie. I thought he's a great character, and I look forward to throughout these episodes we kind of get to explore a little bit more and more about him.
Yeah.
But he tells Huey that story about killing the woman who had the dirt under her fingernails, and he doesn't one of the things that threw me off the first time I watched it. I just assumed that he was killing her because of the dirt under her fingernails, but when I watched it this time, I went more of maybe she was his target all along, and he was just explaining these are all the things that I saw about her as my target.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it originally.
Yeah, and we see Homelander, he shoots down the mayor of whatever city that was. He shot down the plane in the previous episode, but really in this episode we get to see, and it just gets worse and worse as the season progresses. We get to see how creepy and actually evil Homelander is.
Oh yeah,
that he's not just bad, he's not just creepy, he's evil.
Yeah, well, yeah, that leads me to my thought of episode 2, which would be Homelander is so creepy, just like a villain. That's all I got out of this episode, which led me to being right in the end of the season. So yeah, like I said, if listeners, if you have not watched the show, go watch it. Why are you listening to this?
Yeah.
But I'm sure a lot of you have, and you're probably listening going, wow, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Episode 3, what did you think?
The only thing that jumped out at me in episode 3 was the introduction of Malcolm Barrett, who played Hoover in Preacher. We see him, he's one of the PR guys in there that is talking about when Starlight had beat up the guys in the alleyway, and they're talking about how to spin it. They show her new costume, and the woman is like, well, this is a costume that works. And Starlight's like, I don't want to wear that. And so we get to see, episode 3 really starts us down the road, whereas episode 2 started us down the road of understanding how dark and evil Homelander is. Episode 3 is where we really start to see, I think, more and more, or at least it starts the ball rolling of the PR machine that these superheroes, that it's more about the publicity than it is about actually saving people, actually doing heroic things. And I think episode 3 is where we get to see her and the Deep together on that arrest at the waterfront, and we find out that there's all these crimes, that they do all these. They've got all these computers, and they got this whole room full of men that are tracking crimes so that they don't have to actually do all that much. They just tell them, oh, there's a crime going to be committed here. Go stop it.
Yeah.
And Starlight makes that comment about how she used to just have a crappy police scanner that she would listen to in her room or in her car or whatever.
Yeah, she was like the Spider-Man for wherever she was from. Where was it? Kansas or Oklahoma City or
Ohio? It wasn't Ohio. It was somewhere Midwest.
Midwest.
I don't think it was Oklahoma. It wasn't Oklahoma, but it was somewhere like that kind of Midwestern kind of thing.
Yeah, I appreciated that though. That it shows that she was doing this as a kid, growing up, because her mother trained her and to do all these things, and you could see her whole training montage and everything, and how she was inducted and everything else in the first episode, and it was very, you appreciate that, and the fact that that this is a main character, this is somebody that we're going to be focused in on. So, I do appreciate her. I forget her first name, but her last name's Moriarty, and she's very good.
The actress?
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me.
We're on episode 3, so right. Mine would be the Rick Astley ringtone from Mother's Milk. The Pack and Go guy's name is Mother's Milk, and he's helping Butcher and Huey with their plan. I was laughing about the never gonna give you up ringtone throughout the whole thing. That way they can bug A-Train's apartment and his girlfriend. And then we see what she is doing and what A-Train has been doing all along, which basically is juicing up. And it's really wacky, honestly.
Yeah.
They came up with a lot of things that came out in this episode that was just like, what? What's going on? I like the fact that we see more of Queen Maeve, and my observation came to the conclusion that, she is basically the Wonder Woman of this show. She seems to be the only person within the group with some sort of conscience that's been there the longest, but deals with the garbage that, Psycho Homelander does all the time, down to shooting her to show battle damage with the perp she had to stop originally in the building. But, and then Homelander just punches through the guy's chest, making a mess all over the place. That's the whole point of him shooting her. It's like, oh, she goes, but this was my mission. And he goes, hold on. And he just shoots her and sprays her with bullets to show that her, suit is damaged.
Right.
And, it's just like, that whole pompous attitude that Homelander has. It's so weird.
Yeah. Well, and just like he makes that comment to the cops, and he says the same thing to the soldiers in the last episode where he goes, you guys are the real heroes.
Yeah.
And so when you hear it first, when he says it to the cops, you kind of get the idea that, maybe he's being sincere. But then, like I said, in episode 8, we see him say the exact same thing to the soldiers. So you realize that, no, this guy is, if we didn't need anything more to convince us, we see him just straight up murder this guy and this sniper. And it seems like nobody, like you said, he shoots Maeve with the machine gun so that they can show that they were justified to kill the guy.
Yeah.
So.
And I have a couple of more. The next one would be the race between A-Train and Shockwave. Obviously, A-Train is hocked up on V-Juice, and he's extremely addicted to it.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point of what we saw in the first episode. That's why he was running to get those the robbers that robbed the bank or whatever, that when he plowed through Huey's girlfriend on when she was literally on the curb or just off the curb itself.
Just off the curb,
you know.
Yeah.
And A-Train's girlfriend, the Claw.
Popclaw.
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 I got
was
it.
her name, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And her V juiced up excitement with the guy who shows up at the apartment.
Ugh, gruesome.
Then accidentally kills him by doing kegels on that guy's face. Honestly, that was explosive. I don't as gruesome as and perverted and disturbing as it was, brains everywhere on the floor. Ugh. It was gruesome. But it was entertaining to the least, at least, to me. I just got a chuckle. I was like, oh no, they did not do that. Yeah. I'm like, yes, they did.
Yeah, and she didn't even realize that she had done it until she gets off the guy and looks and sees, oh no. And then what I really liked about that scene also, there's another really cool thing that happens in the van there as they're watching it, because Huey wants to go help the guy, and Butcher stops him, and then Huey's like, no, I could have saved him, and Butcher's like, you're going to run across the street and up 3 flights of stairs and get into that apartment in 10 seconds. That's literally how long it took them. Like, from the point where they knew he was going to get hurt to when she killed him, Billy's like, there's nothing you could have done. Even if you had made it there before she killed the guy, which you weren't going to, she would have just then probably killed you as well.
Yeah.
And so we see this, and this again is one of those points that we talked about earlier with Billy, is that he's not a bad guy, really, but he does do some bad things.
Well, he's determined to do what he needs to do for himself, and he's utilizing the people that are with him to do what he needs to. And I'm not saying he doesn't care for these people in any way, but it seems that his motivation is more his determination to get done what needs to be done for himself.
Yeah,
so
he wants to accomplish the mission.
Exactly.
Yeah. So episode 4,
yeah.
Right? Is that episode 4?
Yeah.
Is that where that? Yeah. So episode 4 brings us the introduction to the female, which in the comic they never give her a name. We do get a name for her in the show, but they don't ever. From what I read, they don't actually ever give her a name in the comic. And she is a super, but they know from the start that she has kind of been manufactured as a super, because she survives. And this was I was a little confused about this. I remember the first time I watched it that I thought maybe they were all surprised when she heals herself in the next episode.
Yeah.
But in this episode, A-Train's like bashing her head against a wall, and then she just gets up and walks away. And I'm like, didn't you guys like kind of think, oh wait, there's something more to her than just like, obviously she's been juiced up with the compound V. So it was a little interesting to me that they kind of seemed surprised when they discover that she's a super.
Yeah.
But at the same time, also, one of the guys kills himself after he sees what she does. She used her hands to claw that guy's guts out.
Yeah.
And it just,
it's gruesome.
Yeah, and then you mentioned earlier about the Spice Girls. I absolutely loved that whole metaphor that Butcher gives about the Spice Girls. He's asking, well, where's Sporty Spice? And they're like, what? And where's Shorty and the other one? And when they're by themselves, he talks about the red-haired one. He's like, she just sounds like she's screeching and all. And where's the other one? She's not doing anything. And this other one's been on sex tapes and all that. But he says, but when they're together, they're the Spice Girls, So we kind of get this comment a few times in the next few episodes as well. Like when they talk about the female, they go, "Well, maybe she's a Spice Girl," and that kind of stuff. So we get to see that. That really made me chuckle. I loved, and I think you've got this in your notes as well. We get to see the this kind of creepy obsession he has with saving the sea creatures, but also we get to see his abject failure at it. That whole scene when the dolphin's flying through the air and they kind of lock eyes for a minute and then it lands and the truck runs it over. And you're just like, oh my goodness, it's so darkly hilarious that you can't laugh. So, but yeah, that's for me. Those were the big moments. And like I said, it didn't occur to me the first time I watched it, but this time watching it, he's really bashing her head against the wall.
Oh yeah, and he throws her
just
through the wall too.
He throws her through a wall. He's, all these things, and she just kind of gets up and takes it all. And you would think that would, but I know in the next episode when Billy tells Frenchie to leave her, and Frenchie says, "Well, they'll kill her," and Billy says, "Soup on soup crime doesn't bother me." So he already kind of knew that she was super.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on episode 4?
Well, episode 4, I love the fact that we get Jennifer Esposito in this episode. I missed her. I used to watch her on NCIS and Blue Bloods.
Yeah.
She always has that grit to her characters in law enforcement. I love that aspect about her. She's got that typical New York, I'm Hispanic attitude, and I'm not going to take your crap.
Yeah.
And I love that. She plays Butcher's ex-partner while he was on the force, and apparently he left, and Butcher needs her to help trace where the V was coming from.
Well, she's a deputy director of the CIA.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were, I don't remember well enough. So they might have been partners. I know they worked together, but remember he makes that statement in the first episode when Huey asks him who he works for, and he's like, "Well, I don't actually work for anybody. They call me in when something needs to be done."
Yeah, he was like a lone agent or something like that
so
for a company.
I get the idea that he was like an independent contractor, kind of hitman for the CIA kind of thing. And once he started going after supers, then they started kind of working together.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if they were ever officially
together.
But she's like a deputy director of the CIA now, because she's the one at the end in the last couple episodes who keeps meeting with Stillwell and trying to negotiate stuff because of the Compound V.
Yeah, she's trying to interrogate her based upon government actions and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, she's at in the last couple episodes there when Billy gives her the Compound V, she goes to Stillwell and she's like trying to tell her that soups aren't going to be in the military, and if you don't pull this, we're going to expose the Compound V stuff. We're going to expose that you're making heroes. And then while she's having that conversation, they get that video of the captain guy who's basically like he can blow himself up and then comes back together apparently. So yeah, she's somebody high up in the CIA.
Yeah, definitely.
Now. Yeah.
My next part would be the hijacked plane that Queen Maeve and Homelander try and save, but it all goes wrong. And Homelander, still a psychotic, screws it up and leaves, convincing, Queen Maeve to go with him and leave those people to die. Oh my God.
Yeah, that whole scene, that whole stuff was just it takes that dark twist of things that we've seen in other movies. Like, didn't Superman do that in one of the Superman movies where he grabbed an airplane and was like on the bottom of it, like flying it somewhere? Because she kind of indicates, she says, "Well, can't you lift up the plane from the and he's like, what am I going to stand on? There's no earth out there, and what if it spins over the top of me?" And like he's got all these ideas where he's like, it's not going to work. We can't save them now. It's just done.
Yeah,
and
it was like what we spoke about last week when we were talking about CW with Brandon Routh. In Superman Returns, he actually stops the plane, brings it down, settles it nicely. But the thing is that, Homelander is supposed to be a representation of a weird, dark version of Superman that was created. So, and he just doesn't care. He's just like,
No, he doesn't. And then in the next episode, when we see him on that beach when all those bodies are washing up, which I guess that confused me a little bit, because they were talking about the fact that the plane was over international waters, and so they could go deal with it, but then yet it's close enough that the bodies are washing up on the beach. That didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense at all. I think they were hoping for the fact that they would save them, but now that the bodies are showing up on the beach, it's like, oh, okay, now this is a real crisis at this point.
Right, and now he uses it as an opportunity, just showing that same sociopathic type of tendencies and stuff.
Yeah, he's an opportunist, and we all know this.
Yeah.
Well, we have to tap on what my next part would be.
Yes.
The favorite line for me, how do you know so much about the Spice Girls? And that's Mother's Milk saying that to Butcher and tries to explain what it's all about that they're trying to do. Yeah. And it's so funny. It's like, how does Butcher know so much about the Spice Girls? Come on, man. I thought that was hilarious.
That was funny.
The Deep and the dolphin, you already touched on that. Humorous but creepy. Then the dolphin dies. Honestly, that was sad. All he wanted to do, was the Deep to play with his fin. Honestly. And he just dies at it. Oh, it's like, I guess that was his last happiness. I feel sorry for the dolphin. But we see something like that later on, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, it shows more of what's going on within the Deep and how creepy he is. So we're on to episode 5 now.
Episode 5, we finally get the image that we saw in the trailer before season 1 came out, the baby with the laser eyes. We finally get to see that in episode 5. That was really great. And this is a running thing over the next few episodes. We see that A-Train kills Popclaw.
Yeah.
Apparently, he did that on orders from Homelander, is the impression I got from their conversation. But then in the next couple episodes, he keeps blaming Huey for that. So they're just this whole thing, and I think it's just more. I think you hit it on the head earlier when you talked about the fact that he's an addict, and this is all addict type of conversation, and the way an addict kind of looks at the world, where they're going to blame everybody else for it. I'm already talked a little bit about the fact that at the end we get to see the female do her Wolverine healing act, and Starlight, she reveals her encounter with the Deep on the stage there at the Believe Expo. I was a little disappointed. I'm not criticizing it. I was a little disappointed by the way they portrayed conservative Christians in this episode.
Yeah.
I really can't say too much about it because we podcasted over Preacher.
But I agree with you on this. It's like they could have used a different religion, in my opinion. But it seems that they always go the Catholicism way or Catholic.
Yeah, or
church.
at least like don't have it be like the whole, like everybody, like it was like all of them. Like I would be appalled if I wouldn't have been at an event like that, because $170 for a ticket, I wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
But you would think there would be more people than just Annie who are kind of, wait a minute, we need to dial this back a little bit. And he's misquoting scripture, he's misquoting, taking verses out of context.
Yeah.
And he's just doing a lot of things that it didn't rub me enough of the wrong way that I'm going to stop watching the show. But it just was one of those things that I think they could have toned it down.
Yeah, it was a total mocking of the religion, and my feeling is just like, you know what, create a different one for the show, and that's my feeling. It's like trip on another religion. If do Scientology, who knows?
Yeah,
it's like it's like the thing is that everything comes. And, they could have created a specific religion for this just to go with it.
I just think it was, the only thing I noticed, and I didn't notice this the first time I watched it, but this last time watching it was very interesting that Homelander very specifically calls Stillwell's baby an accessory.
Yeah.
He says, "You've just got this accessory now." And so that may be foreshadowing for what happens at the end of the season. I'm not sure, but also, and then just the last thing I had for this particular episode was that fight scene between Black Noir and the female was just outstanding. Like the way the stunt people did it, and from what I read in IMDb trivia, they actually did that fight. Like the guy that wears the suit is a black belt in like Taekwondo or something like that, and the girl who plays the female is like some other, or maybe she's the Taekwondo. Anyway, they're both like they're both very like their sword. Like he actually is a sword person. Like he knows how to handle swords, and so they were able to use those skills that they already had and make it a really really impressive fight scene.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I'm going to skip over my first one, which was the Believe Expo. You already spoke about that. Yeah, we're not going to go into that. That's just a lot of my not happy with how they went on with that. But seeing Billy Zane in the movie with Popclaw and that A-Train is watching, that movie was pretty much fun to see, because when was the last time we saw Billy Zane in anything?
It seems like I've seen him in something recently that they talked about, but it is funny. He's kind of become he's almost become like a punchline in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
For movies and TV shows and stuff, that Billy Zane this, Billy Zane
Zoolander
that. So yeah, and he's guest spotted in some TV shows and things like that. So I must have fast forwarded past that part, but I think now I know what you're talking about, when he was watching the TV.
Yeah, he was watching a TV show that she did, which led into the next episode. And to let you all know too, it's funny too, while watching Popclaw, that the actress that plays it, she reminds me so much of Natasha Gregson Wagner, which is the daughter of, oh my god, I'm forgetting his first name, Robert Wagner. And she died on a boat. She was in Miracle on 34th Street. I forget her name. Yeah, she came from famous actors. But apparently Brittany Allen is like a stunning resemblance of Natasha Gregson Wagner. And to me, I was just like, is that her? And I kept looking, and I'm like, no, it's not her. But she looks just like her from like 20 years ago. Yeah. And I'm just like, wow. It was like such a stunning resemblance. So, that's my little bit on that. Cool. We're on to episode 6.
Episode 6. So episode 6 starts with our Ashley, our Colby Minifie getting fired because of what happened with Starlight. And we start to, episode 6 kind of gives us the beginnings of what we're going to get in the last couple episodes. We're seeing more and more of the publicity machine, and I just absolutely love that scene between her and Elizabeth Shue when they're in the office, and Elizabeth Shue is kind of like telling her this is the way it is, and Starlight kind of just comes back with, yeah, but you can't fire me because I just talked about a sexual assault that happened to me, and if you fire me now, it's going to be worse for the company altogether. And so they have this whole back and forth thing where finally Elizabeth Shue kind of says, well, fine, I'm going to have to think about this. And then we get some more interaction with her and Queen Maeve. And then, of course, at the end of the episode, they're doing that trailer for the movie about Starlight. And Queen Maeve just looks at her and says, the house always wins. But we also get to see Haley Joel Osment. We get to see some other stuff. Was this the episode where we saw all the different kind of behind the scenes, like the Deep is on the beach and they're picking up trash and he's doing a whole commercial for picking, and then they say cut and she's like, okay, put the trash back, we're gonna do another take. And we get to see kind of A-Train's his mess ups and stuff. So we get to see a lot of kind of the behind the scenes kind of things. We've already seen that Maeve had a relationship with a woman. That woman kind of comes back, and we get a little bit of their interaction and stuff. And so there was a lot of things in this episode kind of setting us up, rolling towards the end of the season. Yeah,
it definitely humanizes Maeve, though. We didn't really see much of her, which I'm really glad that we got to, because they kind of hinted on the idea that Homelander and her had a relationship, so I'm thinking that she's kind of bisexual.
Yeah, that's the impression I got.
So to me that was nice to see, because I think that was the one character they really didn't really top on too much throughout the actual season, and I hope they bring her back. The actress is very good. She looks nothing like the character that she portrays on the show. And apparently she must wear a wig because every picture I've seen of her is with blonde hair and short.
Oh,
so,
the one playing Maeve or the one playing her girl?
Maeve.
Maeve, okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up and see.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I hadn't noticed that.
So my impressions for episode 6 that lasted was pretty much the creepy room that Homelander, the behind the scenes look at him. It was all made up. If you look at it in the end, this was something, and then him being very particular about a blanket that was left on the bed in the very beginning of the episode. So he goes crazy on that, on the crew and everything. So that was
that was, and we don't get the further reveal of that until later, until the next couple episodes where we actually find out more about why that was such a big deal for him.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah. Another part would be A-Train and his brother with his addiction. Mm-hmm. Pretty much a good look of the character. And I like the fact that they're actually bringing out some more things about these particular characters. We're only seeing certain scenes and instances with them, and that's about it. And then they kind of move on to the next scene. So at least we're getting a little bit of like a backstory or character build-up in some way for these characters. Mm-hmm. So, that was another panel that they actually went to for that. Another part would be Starlight talking to Queen Maeve in the elevator about what she has done and all the good she has done, meaning Maeve, but stating that it was done by the marketing guys. And the fact that, Maeve actually did break her arm in a couple of places and apparently it didn't heal right. And she did that for herself. Yeah,
she said she broke all the bones. She said she broke all the bones. That was a real, that moment that Starlight had talked about saving those kids in the school bus, that was a real moment.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that to me was touching in the sense that we got a little bit more of an insight of Maeve itself. She wasn't just a secondary character that, was, in my thought, a representation of Superwoman, Wonder Woman. In itself.
Yeah.
So I would say my next part would be the Deep being stationed with Sandusky, Ohio. No water there at all. A way to hide the Deep from people with the dolphin incident in Starlight. Plus the full endorsement of women with his apology to Starlight publicly. And of all things, we get this cool thing. It's a plus to me. Seth Rogen and the Vought universe. Apparently it's a film thing that they're doing about the actual heroes that are in this actual show. With the character Black Noir.
Yeah.
Also known to me, the Batman of this universe, if you think about it.
Yeah, kind of, except he doesn't speak.
No.
He doesn't speak at all.
No.
So
yeah, that's the pretty cool thing about it.
Yeah.
The con where the movie actors portray supers, plus that, you already mentioned it, the Haley Joel Osment character, Mesmerizer, is, and he does have powers, and we find that out. Mother Milk's talk to him about what he does and makes him confront his daughter. That was a really cool and key scene. A great scene with the daughter by Haley, and it shows his acting chops as an adult. Not just this, but also if you guys have not watched Tusk, go see Tusk. And that's a Kevin Smith movie. And we're on to episode 7.
So episode 7, we get this idea that the end of episode 6, we have Mesmer's character showing all the pictures of the boys to Homelander, and so now they've been exposed, and so we get this idea that they've got to go get their families. I thought that was really cool. Like in Haley, Huey goes to his house because his dad, A-Train, is there with his dad, and I absolutely love that scene. And I didn't see it the first time I watched it. I saw it today as I was rewatching it. Is you can see in the background, it's blurred out, but you can see like a vent opening, and you can see the female drop out of that vent while Huey is talking to A-Train, and she's able to sneak up behind him and break his leg, which was rather gruesome.
Yeah.
That compound fracture.
Oh yeah.
Of his leg. But that whole conversation he's having with Huey, where he's blaming Huey for Popclaw's death, is like straight out of an addict's like playbook, because he's totally not taking responsibility for what he did. And I thought that was a really, really good scene. The deep and the sex scene with the girl where she's sticking her hands in his gills just made me cringe, and just that whole idea of I can only assume that he didn't want to hurt her. He didn't want to violently lash out at her, so he just basically laid there and took it.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, in some ways it's like the roles have been reversed now.
Yeah, he got raped.
Right. But then we also get that scene between Mesmer and Butcher where I'm pretty sure Butcher killed him.
Oh yeah.
Just straight up beat him to death in that bathroom. And you don't see Butcher really fly off the handle until Mesmer says, well, I can help you find her. And then, you know, then he puts his hands on either side of Mesmer's face. And again, you commented about Haley Joel Osment. He's such a good actor. He really has grown beyond
his
that
years.
10-year-old kid.
Yeah.
That 10. And I looked at his IMDb page today. He even did quite a bit as a kid before The Sixth Sense. Like, he was in a lot of TV stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I think The Sixth Sense was probably his first movie. But so he's been acting for a long time. And if you go through his IMDb page, there's a couple of spots where there's years in between projects, but he's worked pretty steadily over the last 30 years or so. So I thought that was really cool to see him. And I we get that little scene that flashback we see of Butcher's wife coming out of the hotel room, and she's only got one shoe on, and she definitely looks like something bad has just happened. And so I don't know if we're going to find out for sure, because in the next episode, Homelander tries to say that the sex was consensual, but when you look at that video, that does not look like a woman happy coming out of that hotel room.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not sure what we're going to find out about that encounter. I'm assuming we're going to get some more about it since the way episode 8 ended. And then, of course, that very end where we get to see the fact that there are now super terrorists.
Yeah.
Is really great to lead right into the next episode.
Oh, definitely. And to add on to your Haley Joel Osment comment, for listeners out there, go see Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, because Haley's in it. So,
is he?
Yeah, he'll be in it. Kevin has been plugging away at how many cameos. You know Haley's going to be in there. He was in Tusk. He was in Yoga Hosers. He's going to be in every Kevin Smith movie. So he's there. So go out there, see it, and, give some, props to Kevin Smith for another great movie. So, and Haley's in it, as well as a numerous amount of other actors that we all love. So with my number 7, I'm going to say, with my first one would be the Christmas party from 8 years before. Butcher and his wife Becca are there. She was someone who was important within Vought, apparently the new senior director of digital marketing based upon what Homelander states. But then there was this weird situation with her and Homelander, which we all saw, like you stated, from the video. Butcher getting the video from some lady showing that apparently she was with Homelander Homelander was with Becca for like 3 hours and she disappeared. And who is this Mallory?
That woman is from the comic book, and it's actually the character in the comic book is a male, though.
Okay.
And Mallory is the character basically that started the boys.
That's what I got out of it from the next episode.
Her grandchildren were killed by Lamplighter.
Yep.
And we talked, and they talked. Mother's Milk talks about that in one of the earlier episodes.
Yep.
And that was what her grandchildren getting killed by Lamplighter is what caused her to retire, to stop doing.
And that's why they retired Lamplighter too.
Right.
All right. So that clears that up.
yeah. That's so. Like I said, she's actually, and it's from what I read in the trivia. It's the same character except it's male in the comic book.
But which makes this even better, I think, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
My next part would be the confrontation between Huey and A-Train. Like you already spoke. It was so emotionally fueled. Very well done in that scene. Squeezing out the V-juice to make A-Train squirm a little bit was amazing. His ejection is way too strong. So, that kind of made for a great scene. Homelander with Stillwell and trying to get the information about Becca Butcher. Interesting scene. Such an uncomfortable scene to watch, though. So, yeah. And then I would continue on saying that, the getting deep with a fan. You already spoke about this, and it was that was pretty much a male rape scene if you saw it at most. Even though I'm sure other women would been like, no, we need more. But the funniest bit, though, to me, and it's sad in a sense for a lot of people who love animals and things of that nature, but I'm a seafood lover, so...
The lobster thing.
Yes, the Deep in the supermarket and trying to free the lobster. He goes, I want that one. And that was heartbreaking to me, though I do love seafood, and I love to eat it. I did understand the Deep's pain when the clerk killed the lobster. I just hope that the Deep had some butter, though. And my last part would be Homelander talking to his father, quote-unquote father, finding out that Homelander was made, not born. He was created by these people. So he was a man-made hero or super at that. Plus he finds out that he is the father of Becca's baby, that Becca had died during childbirth and that it clawed its way out of her. He didn't say what happened to the baby after that, though.
No, he did, though. He says, because that's Homelander asks what happened to the baby, and the doctor says it lived. I think he said it. He doesn't say the sex.
Okay.
Homelander asks if it was a boy, but he says it lived for 10 seconds, drowned in its mother's blood.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's that. Yeah. No, I literally, when I was literally watching that scene just earlier this evening when we were typing up notes, and so I specifically remember hearing him say it lived 10 seconds and it died drowning in its mother's blood.
Yeah, that's what happens when we podcast on a crunch, and we have to
Yeah.
rewatch all those wonderful, vitable things that we need to watch for this episode of this podcast. But the thing is that it actually made me fast forward and go through to the events that I needed to, because, I have a decent memory, not hugely great when it comes to long term, because I watched this however long when it first premiered, and I think I binge watched it over the course of a day and a half.
Yeah.
And I had that weekend off or whatever. And, to me, I just watched it and it just reinvigorated me in the idea of watching these scenes going, wow, oh my God, wow, that happened. Oh, wow. It's like, oh, I don't remember that exactly. So there are a lot of things when we do these things, and it'll make you want to watch it as well as a listener, because if we're bringing up topics that you like, bring them up. If you could throw us out a shout out or a comment on Facebook, that would be great, or even an email or a voicemail. But we're hoping that people go back to this, because the new season is going to be coming up not soon, but fairly soon.
Yes, sometime this year.
Yeah.
We didn't talk a lot about it, but the very end of the episode we have Annie and Huey meeting there in the park again, and Butcher shooting her, and also that whole conversation with the doctor really leads with Vogelbaum, his quote unquote father, leads us right into episode 8, because it is the fact that Stillwell tells a different story of how the baby died. And that is what clues Homelander into the fact that they're lying to him.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really great. So are we ready to get into episode 8?
Yeah, I am.
So as I started to say, I guess, and I didn't think about this the first time I watched it. It wasn't until I watched it this time that I really went, oh, okay. So I guess one of the things about all of these superheroes is that, or most of them, is that they're bulletproof. Because she gets shot several times.
Oh, yeah.
in the chest.
Yeah, definitely. And pretty much almost in the same area, too.
Yeah, and she basically, I mean, it knocks her down and stuff, and obviously it bothers her. But then the next episode, this episode here, episode 8, she's just fine. She goes and visits her mom. So I thought it was kind of cool, that realization that I was like, okay, there's one thing that's kind of consistent with all of them. I absolutely loved seeing Jim Beaver in this episode. He was a recurring character in Supernatural. And it's funny, the character he played in Supernatural is named Robert Singer, and that's also the name of an executive producer of Supernatural. So Eric Kripke brings the character back, or brings the name back in this episode, even though it's not spoken in the episode. I don't think it's definitely he's credited as being Secretary of Defense Robert Singer. So it was great to see Jim Beaver in this episode, and I hope we get to see him in season 2. We get that whole scene with Annie talking to her mother, and we find out that at some point when she was a baby, that her parents allowed Vought to, shoot her up with Compound V, making her into a super. And at some point, then I guess they weren't paying them money, but they were paying for the medical bills, and they were doing something else. And at some point, her father didn't want to lie to her anymore. And so instead of telling her the truth, he just left, which scarred her. And, we talked a little bit about the Deep, and they really did a good job in these last 2 episodes of making me feel sympathetic for him. I'm still, now don't get me wrong, I don't want anybody to think that I'm having sympathy for him, or that what he did, that I'm okay with what he did. Obviously he's a horrible person, and he did it to more than just Starlight, so he deserves to get what he got. But it's still, you got to have a little bit of sympathy for him. I think I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm convincing myself not to, really, that he's just getting what he deserves, that he should probably be in jail. But it's great to see Homelander as he reveals the whole plan to Stillwell. He's like, yeah, I stole some of the Compound V. I had A-Train run it all around the globe, and I created these super jihadists so that we would have an enemy. And then they have sex, and then that's when she tells him the different story about the baby. She just says that it was a miscarriage.
Yeah.
She doesn't say what happened to Becca. She just says it was a miscarriage. And then he realizes, and what he reveals at the end of the episode when he's in the house there, is he said that after their conversation, he went and visited Vogelbaum again and got the real truth. So we can only assume that he probably murdered Vogelbaum.
Yep.
Then, of course, we get that little fight between A-Train and Starlight, and it pained me watching it the first time, and it was difficult watching it this time when he burns out her eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And then Billy just flicks the detonator, and the next scene we see Billy's waking up, on the lawn, and so I can only assume that the baby died in the explosion, that the nanny who was asleep or that Billy had knocked out somewhere died in the explosion at the house. And it just shows the levels of evil that Homelander has, but it also shows the recklessness or the negligence of Billy Butcher.
Oh, yeah.
In a way, because the baby, and I really focused on it this time because I fast forwarded and I rewound and I listened to it again. In that whole scene, when he's talking to Stillwell, you can hear the baby crying, and there's a point where the baby stops crying, or where you don't hear the baby crying anymore. So I don't know if they're going to play with that in the next season and try to say something about that maybe the baby was taken away by somebody or something there, but there's a distinct moment when you don't hear the baby anymore.
Yeah.
And then he burns out her skull. He turns to Billy, and Billy says, F it, or whatever he says, and then he flicks the detonator.
Yeah.
And the next thing we see is he's waking up in the grass, and Homelander's like, oh, you can thank me later for saving your life.
I have a funny feeling that baby is still alive.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is it would be interesting to see, and they're going to have to. I don't know how they could do it though. Is the thing.
Well, you would have to think that if he impregnated Stillwater, and that's why he knew. There was always something sly every time he looked at that kid, that he knew something.
No. You mean Stillwell's baby?
Yeah.
No, he didn't know. He didn't like that baby. He never. Every scene he's in with that baby, he despised.
He despised it. Yeah, basically because it was probably his seed.
And it was I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I think I think that time that when they have sex on the couch there,
That was the
I think
first
that's
time?
First time, yeah, I think that's the first time they actually have sex.
Or
I
maybe
think.
did she steal Homelander's seed?
I don't think so.
to-
I don't think that baby
who
has
knows?
anything to do with Homelander. I don't. I'm
hopeful.
I mean, I'm hoping that the baby's alive, but I don't think there's not going to be any reason why it's not going to be from Homelander. There's going to be some other explanation of how that baby survived if he survived.
Yeah, he's the little baby from like The Incredibles that could do anything and morph and shoot
There you
blasters
go.
out of its.
He was exposed to Compound V as well, and maybe he teleported out at the last
Exactly.
second.
Yeah, come
so
on.
Now that's an explanation that I would buy. You know, I could buy that if you know Stillwell was juicing her own baby with Compound V.
That would be amazing.
I could see it. I could see that being, you know, something there. But no, I don't think Homelander.
I would never want that of a baby like that. Come on, that kid was
Yeah.
cute.
No, I'm with you, and I'm hoping it did survive, but they're gonna have to do something really, really well with it. But what were your thoughts about episode 8?
Well, episode 8, just like you, the counterfeiting of the Compound V and how Homelander gets the drug overseas during the military raid. He gives that whole speech, like you said before. It's like, oh, thank you for doing this, and you are the true heroes. And then he goes in, he takes everybody out with his eye beams, and just like typical Superman style or evil Superman. I would say Bizarro more than anything. Now there is pretty much a new world. I'm thinking that the next season we'll see the villains that was created based upon this, and that these particular heroes are going to have odds at them, but also dealing with their own drama at the same time. And that will definitely be cool to watch, too, because now they have to clear up all the nonsense that we have from this particular season and then deal with the new people that are out there that have all these powers. I forget the girl's name. Haley Joel Osment's character, Mesmerizer, says was it Kamita or Kimika? Or something like
Kumiko, the female's name.
Yes.
Yeah, Kumiko. Kumiko is what he says her name is. Like I said, in the comic book, they don't ever name her.
Yeah, but they gave her a name.
Yeah,
in
he
this.
does. He does give her a name, and then Frenchie says it, Kumiko.
And I would have to add on to, apparently Mallory is the source of where Butcher found his vengeance. Basically, she was the beginning of the boys. She lost people and made Butcher aware of it, and I hope to see her more in season 2, the character that started it all basically for the boys. I like to see her story next season in flashback form, hopefully, and that would be amazing to see. Because that they're gonna go. They already did it within this season where everything was out of order and we saw certain things. Maybe they'll do that in season 2, where they expand the story so that way they could get more seasons out of it and more characters. That would lead me to another point, which would be Huey's plea to Starlight, which would be Annie to help. Yes, she is bulletproof, like we already talked about, apparently. That seems to be a soup straight. We all concur about that, but her human side comes out and wants to do right in the end, which pretty much is what Huey wants. And hopefully they'll make a great couple. And Queen Maeve saying that she did actually break her arm. We already spoke about this, and I'm not going to go further into that. That whole mother-son talk between Homelander and Stillwell post-coitus, that was really weird to me. Like, you already topped on that. Then after he gets the information he needs, he burns her eyes out, and wow. Yeah. Burning her brains out. And that ending, Homelander with Butcher, seeing the baby with Becca. Wow. Next season is going to be crazy with that.
Yep.
And they, when they come out with that, I'm just going to be watching it. Now I need to read the trade, but I'm really scared to read the trade because of what's going on. But right now I'm on Batman Deceased, so I would check it out, listeners. I mentioned it before. I think I brought it up a number of podcasts ago, and I said I was interested in the idea of reading it. They finally came out with a trade paperback, and it's a hardcover, and I purchased it, read the first 15 pages of it, and really got into it. Now, think of the movie Cellular or the Stephen King novel Cellular. where you pick up a cell phone, something that's digital media or anything like that, where it could create a zombie virus. And that's where this leads off with Cyborg being implemented with something by a dastardly villain and creates a zombie virus where anybody who interacts with any social media, cell phone, or anything electronic gets infused with this this zombie disease, and they eat each other. And the supers within that particular comic wind up having to battle all this, and all of them succumb to some degree to a final end. But I'm still reading it, and it's like the scenes within it are really, really human, and I love the idea of it, and I can't highly recommend it anymore. Go out there and get it. It's on trade. It's in hardcover trade. I picked it up, and that's my to-do read this week. So, but we could talk about the series as a whole. What do you think?
The only thing I had really as a whole, and we've talked about most of what I've got, but is just that the fact that I love how Jack Quaid plays this kind of everyman kind of character, that he's very simple. He doesn't know how the gun works. He doesn't know, but he seems to almost like I don't hate to say get smart kind of way, but he kind of stumbles into into things, like when he killed Translucent. He's about to let Translucent go, and he sees the picture on the wall of the baby, and says, don't, make sure you keep your hands clean or something like that. And he remembers what happens to Robin, and so he trips the detonator.
Yeah.
And then later, when he's with Ezekiel, he kind of goes into the whole blackmail mode. When he does have the gun, he shoots a bunch of people with it, just randomly being able to. So I really like that whole everyman quality that he kind of has, of this ordinary guy who's swept up into these crazy events.
Well, yeah, I have to agree with that. That would be my point too. Jack Quaid does present, and he shows himself as a really good actor within this show, and I really do enjoy his performance. And he's pretty much the ordinary guy, and he does and he kind of bumbles through everything to get where he needs to. But then you have Carl Urban, who is, I'm not sure if I'm gonna phrase this right or make it sound right. I'm thinking more of Fight Club. Think of Brad Pitt and Edward Norton. Edward Norton being the Jack Quaid Huey character, and whereas Carl Urban playing Butcher, and Butcher is pretty much the Brad Pitt character in Fight Club. Alter egos, doing extremes, and both. One trying to do utmost good, and one doing the utmost craziness. And I kind of see it that way. But, if you have any thoughts on that, please send them our way. That was just my thought when I first saw this. I'm like, wow, you see two people completely different that are stuck in this situation, one manipulating the other, one that's pretty much innocent and wants good things, and then you have the other one who is determined to do certain things, but convincing the innocent one to do that as well. So that's what I got out of it when I first watched it. So, but that's really what my attitude and my thought about it is. Hopefully that changes come season 2, and we'll see.
We'll see. So what other news do we have? What have we got out there in the news?
So in comic news, we pretty much have Colin Farrell is cast as Penguin in Robert Pattinson's The Batman that is now in pre-production. Apparently it's going to be a dark take, just like the Joker was this last year. So maybe this will be a one-off, just the same, and I'm not sure, but I'm interested in it. So, if you guys have watched Joker, I have. I watched it a few times. It's very interesting, very dark, a very dark take. I've heard something about an alternate ending on that particular movie, but, to me, I like it as it is, and I think that Joaquin Phoenix did a very good job, and so did the director. And the director actually did The Hangover, of all things, a comedic movie, and he's doing this. And to me, it was very dark. It was very storytelling, and it took a take of the Joker in a certain way. So if they do this with the Batman, with Robert Pattinson and Colin Farrell as the Penguin, that would be an amazing movie to watch. For the fact that if it's just a one-off, then it'll leave you thinking, kind of like how Joker was. But they plan on doing a Joker sequel, so in my opinion about that, they shouldn't. They just should leave this alone. And then same thing with the Batman, and then they should just do one-offs, because I think DC is knocking out of the park with that particular thought. The next little bit of information I have from the internets, because I'm like Mark Bernardin, I just look for the internet and get internet information about comic book news. Christian Bale might be in Thor: Love and Thunder, and I'm hoping for Beta Ray Bill, but there are rumors about him being Molecule Man going around. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but with Christian Bale being very interested in being in a Marvel movie and them seeking him out for Thor: Love and Thunder, I think that would be pretty cool, and I'm really interested. There's a lot coming out, and there was some recent news about WandaVision, and why it was released so sooner than it was foreseen to be, for the fact that basically when they do the next Doctor Strange, basically WandaVision sets that up for her to be in that particular movie, so they moved it up a little bit, so that when the Doctor Strange movie, the next one, it will, make sense in a certain way. So I hope that's true. I honestly, right now, I just want more Marvel. And we haven't gotten an original Marvel. We got original Star Wars. So now we're going to get, Captain, it was, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then we're going to get WandaVision. And then eventually we'll get Black Widow, and then all that good stuff. So it's been a while since we're going to have a Marvel movie and anything Marvel content.
Sounds good.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a special thanks to Kirk Manley for our artwork for our podcast. Check out Kirk Manley on his website, www.studiokm.com. Or you could check him out at BatmanKM on Twitter, or at BatmanKM on Instagram. You could check out his art at batmankm.deviantart.com. If you have something that you would like to hire Kirk for, or consign him for to make for you, you can email him at kirk@studiokm.com.
So the only podcast recommendation I really have is go check out the DC Primetime podcast. They are wrapping up with Crisis. They covered Crisis like we did. They covered Crisis parts 1 through 3, and they will be covering parts 4 and 5 here in the next week or so. So check out their coverage of that. We will be covering Crisis parts 4 and 5. I think we're going to try to do that next week. We'll see how schedules work out, but I know it's the 2 episodes are going to be on Tuesday the 14th.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll try and get Ben on that, because I would love to have Ben on again.
very cool.
And we're going to give a YouTube recommendation. Since we are on YouTube now as a podcast, we'd like to recommend a show. And with that show would be The Grim Life Collective with Michael and Jessica. They cover a lot of interesting locations in Florida, as well as set locations of horror films. They are really nice people, and I watch them on YouTube all the time. Show some support to our friends, The Grim Life Collective, and check out their show. They have an awesome episode where they actually went out to Tom Savini's school for makeup effects in Pennsylvania, and had a tour of the school by Tom himself. They also got to see his house and do a tour of it by Tom himself, which is amazing. You have to see it for yourself. And just watch that episode. It's so cool to see what the students can do, what Tom has in his house as far as collectives within the house from all the movies he's worked on. It made me want to go see the school, but, I'm not going to be a student. But with that, we have some ways for you to send feedback to us, and how is that?
We would love to get your feedback. There's multiple ways you can get feedback to us. You can send feedback to our webpage. You can go to our webpage at panels2pixelspodcast.com. That'll redirect you to our Facebook page. And on our Facebook page, you can leave us a message. We usually post something on there letting you know what we'll be talking about that next week. That our group can be found at facebook.com/panels2pixels. You can also email us at panels2pixels1@gmail.com. That's panels2pixels1. The 2 is spelled out, T-O, right there in the middle, and the number 1 at gmail.com. You can call us and leave a voicemail at 845-350-2095. That's 845-350-2095. You can also, as Mark just talked about, you can find us on YouTube at Panels 2 Pixels Podcast. So go to YouTube, search for Panels 2 Pixels Podcast, give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up, share us, whatever you can do. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably listening to it either on Spotify, Google Play, or Apple iTunes, or whatever podcast player of choice you use. If that podcast player of choice allows you to do a review, please give us a 5-star review, write something nice about it, and we will read it on the podcast.
And other ways you could listen to us, I'm a co-host on The Walking Dead Talk Through with Brian Malash on Talk Through Media. We review The Walking Dead each week when it's out. This show will stay on the Next Level Podcast Network as always, but there will be a link for Talk Through Media for others to listen to as well. Listen to us at talkthroughmedia.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. We are currently working on a lot of things. Picardcast is on its way out. It's coming out, I think, at the end of January or middle. So keep in touch here or go to talkthroughmedia.com's website and just leave some sort of feedback. And we will be back with The Walking Dead come I believe, the end of February. So
Middle of February.
February
16th?
Yeah,
16th,
at least. Yeah, and it's the longest hiatus that The Walking Dead has had.
Yeah. It's like I said, I'm pretty sure it's February 16th.
I'm pretty sure you're correct as well. I have not been paying attention. I just watch as it comes out.
You can hear me on here, of course. I'll be always talking with Mark on whatever TV show or movie or comic book to screen that we are discussing that week. I also submit voicemails to various other podcasts currently on the Podcasting Network. Strange Indeed is covering You, Season 2. I send them voicemails. This podcast network has We Have to Go Back, Lost Revisited with Ben and Kristen from the Podcasting Network. They're back, and they're doing their Manifest Minutes as well, so I send voicemails to them. And you can hear my voice on various other Podcastica and Next Level Podcast Network podcasts.
Yes, definitely. So that's it for tonight, everybody. Thank you for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels. Good night, everybody.